Yeah, let's bring on a guy that is super talented, and he works over at The Athletic. He's been in Sacramento a lot, checking out the Kings, what they've been doing in Sacramento. Let's welcome to the show for the first time, Hunter Patterson.
That's a hell of an intro. I appreciate you guys.
Of course, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
We are good, man. We appreciate you hanging out with us. We're at the All-Star break, so we're kind of all right, what have we just witnessed the last 57 games, talking about like biggest surprises in the league and talking some Kings. If I would have told you before the season the Kings would be the number 3 seed, they'd have 2 All-Stars, they'd be 7 games above 500. If I told you that before the season, would you have like laughed at me?
Probably. I definitely would have thought that you might have been a bit overzealous in that estimation, but it's great to see. I figured they had a shot at least with the fresh start in Mike Brown to hopefully be in the top half of the Western Conference, but I definitely didn't expect top 3.
How long have you been really keeping track of De'Aaron Fox in his game? Did you think that he was going to take this type of leap this season?
Not this season, I would say. I didn't know when it came or when it would come. But for me, I definitely enjoyed watching him at Kentucky, and I figured with the athleticism that he has and the way the game is played now, he at some point would put it together. But I didn't know it would look like this.
Yeah, it's been wild to see that type of leap.
Yeah.
And it does show you that, like, yeah, you have to find ways to improve on your own for sure, but you do need things around you. And I think sometimes you just look at these guys, they have talent, they're going to be good. It's like, no, having a coach that instills confidence and accountability helps you. Having talent around you helps you. You need a bit of everything, you know?
Right. And I think with De'Aaron too, you see he's roughly been a 20-point plus guy at least every year in his career. And if not, it's been around like 17, 18, I would say. And for him, it's always been there, but it hasn't necessarily impacted winning the way that it does now. So I think credit Domas, credit all of the pieces around De'Aaron and Mike Brown as well.
Yeah, that's something that we always talk about. We're always like, we want to give credit to him, his maturity. I mean, watching him grow over the years from being 19 years old to now. Right. And then we just talked about it with Mike Brown, you know, setting this standard, this culture. Then you just talked about it. Some of the other guys, Domas Sabonis, obviously having a vet in Harrison Barnes around with some of these better pieces around. It's got to be the roster construction too, right?
Right. I think it has a lot to do with the construction and then the way that the system plays to their strengths. So I think that this is by all means a talented group, but I think the DHOs, the way they have so many guys who can come off pin downs, and now you see even Keegan's able to create when he's like driven off the 3-point line. So I think the system really benefits and kind of like accentuates their strengths.
And Keegan had 6 dimes last night too. He played 20 minutes. I was surprised he only played 20 minutes, but 6 assists last night. So it's good to see him get that going. Like, what have been your impressions of Keegan Murray through this first stretch of the season?
Yeah, I watched him a bit too during March Madness last college basketball season, and I thought at the time he was in college, no doubt, a 3-level scorer, but I didn't know if he'd be able to create off the bounce as well as he's shown throughout the season. So it's been really fun to see his progression. And I remember one of the post-game press conferences, Mike Brown essentially was saying that Keegan can create his own ceiling. And the more that he shows initiative and a will to score and create, the more leash that Mike is going to allow him to have. So the sky's the limit for him.
Yeah, you brought that up too. Mike Brown was on Cal's and Rami, the show after us, and he was just talking about how much he wants Keegan to be more aggressive, not just going at guys, but also just getting yours sometimes. And I think Mike almost holds him accountable with playing time now, where it's like, hey, if you're going to be out there and not be aggressive,
passive,
like, you're not going to play.
Right. And I think in that role too, Deuce, you mentioned his minutes last night, and throughout the stretch, down the stretch, we were kind of seeing TD get get some of those minutes. And I think in the way that TD plays, you can see that they have kind of like the same incentive. Like, okay, if you're open, you shoot, you hit those shots, you stay in the game. And he's kind of capitalizing on things that Keegan could be doing as well.
Yeah, let's talk about the bench for a little bit, and let's talk about the good before we get to some of the bad of the Kings bench. But you talked about Terrence Davis. He's really stepped up with Malik Monk being out. But has Malik Monk's presence this season surprised you, or are these your expectations of what Monk was going to bring?
I think he had this or a similar role, I would say, with the Lakers last season. But again, just the way that the Lakers season went, I think, again, the impact on winning is making it look better, or there's more of like a magnitude to the way that he's playing because the team is winning. And as far as like the impact he's having too, I thought Davion might possibly be able to mature into more of a scorer off the bench, but Malik has kind of alleviated that need.
Yeah, and I feel like that's almost hurt Davion too, because we've been talking about Davion and how like he might have been one of the bigger disappointments. Not necessarily it's all on him. It's just like the fit is weird. You know, at the end of last year, he's got the ball in his hands, especially with Fox out of the lineup. He's making all the decisions. He's being able to attack. But when he's out there with Monk or even with Fox, like those guys have the rock. And I think that's been a tough adjustment for him. And just playing like these short stints where, you know, he played just under 10 minutes last night.
Right. And for me, as a former overthinker on the court, I think it's pretty apparent that he's in his head a bit sometimes. Like he passes up on open shots. And he's extremely quick. There's times he could probably take people off the bounce more than he does. So I think he might just be in his head a bit about what his role is. So
yeah. Do you think it's like
that's where you're going here? I thought you were going to go with he balled, dude.
Well, I was going to kind of tie that in. I was about to look
up his max preps.
Because no, here's my thing though, Hunter. Like even when you were on the floor, was it sometimes not being that selfish player that got stuck in your head?
Yeah, and then there's also too, like if he knows that his run might not last more than 5-6 minutes at a time, he might really shy away from making mistakes, which can kind of like hinder who he really is as a player.
Yeah, I can see that. You can see him almost wearing that on his body language sometimes, because you talked about the way that he's able to take someone off the dribble with that quick first step at times, you know, with that little crossover. His handles have gotten better and better, but he chooses to sometimes be robotic and run through the actions off of this motion offense rather than starting to just think for himself.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see he's essentially out there to play defense and initiate sets on offense. And so I would never want to say you're playing 4-on-5, but you know defensively, if you've read the scouting report, that he's not looking to score too often.
And that's a challenge.
It sure is when you get someone.
I guess going to the last 25 games of the season, like what are your kind of biggest concerns with this group? I guess Davion could be up there. I feel like for me, it's still the backup 5 and maybe even the backup point guard spot.
Yeah, you pretty much hit on both of them. I think last night, probably the most glaring weakness was the fact that there was no one to score when De'Aaron was off the court. So things can kind of get stagnant a little bit, and then that puts more pressure on De'Aaron to play more minutes throughout the season. And you definitely don't want to wear him out before he gets to his first playoff appearance, because he doesn't necessarily know what to expect yet. So I think that might be a concern too. I would hope wear and tear. I honestly have forgot Domas basically has like a broken thumb. So yeah, these guys can like wear and tear outside of the two things that you mentioned in backup point guard, backup center. I think wear and tear would be my biggest thing, because they've been pretty lucky so far with health.
You know, I know whenever we talk about wear and tear with this team too, I'm kind of in this boat of like, hey, get there, show them what the wear and tear will be in that first postseason run in 16 years and ever for some of these guys. Show them, make them feel what it would be like and what type of conditioning that they need to be in. Now, it's not only on them to be in that type of conditioning, it's obviously on your coaches and time management and understanding where you need to be playing night in and night out. But I think that goes to, too, when you look at the trade deadline and these tweaks weren't made, if you're not going to be playing or trusting Davion Mitchell and Rashawn Holmes as backups, then why didn't the Kings make the necessary tweaks at the trade deadline?
I guess they felt that well, I think they definitely think they haven't hit their ceiling yet. So they want to kind of let the guys mesh and continue to kind of like find that multiple cohesive units to put out there. Me personally, I definitely would have been more active during or before the trade deadline. But yeah, I mean, you kind of wish they did have more. I personally kind of wish they had another person who could create on their own, because there's only a handful of people.
What would you have done at or before the trade deadline? Like in your
oh, if he was the GM.
GM, Hunter,
he's got to
the
make
GM.
the calls.
Yeah.
Throw on my GM hat right now. It's one of the people I really liked was Jared Vanderbilt, because he's really young. He's not super offensively gifted, but he can defend almost like 1 through 5. And he can't, I mean, I think also too, I was watching, he got moved around a bunch, but he was with Utah previously, right?
Yeah, Utah, Minnesota. Yeah.
Right. So, and like he offensively cuts really well. And I was kind of like pairing him up with Domas in my mind and thinking about like all the cuts and DHOs and things. But he was the main person I would have liked.
Yeah. I think we were kind of in that same boat of like, you didn't need a big name. You needed a long.
That's why I still go with like the buyout market a little bit. I was just bringing up Nerlens Noel. I'm not acting like he's some crazy, stopper. But at the same time, like, look, you're not playing Rashawn.
Yep.
It's clear he's not.
Which to me, that's like he had a really good stretch, and I was kind of expecting to see more from him.
Yeah.
That I don't get it, because I mean, go back to that Lakers game, that road game where Sabonis is out. The guy had 16 and 10. They won. He wins Defensive Player of the Game. And I remember that night I was doing TV with Morgan. I'm like, Morgan, like he's going to get more minutes now. Like you reward that. You've been searching at the backup 5. Then Sabonis gets back, and it's like, oh, he's not really playing. You're like, oh, like, and I think that crushes a guy's confidence. I think that, and I understand, like, I give credit to like TD and some of these guys for being ready when their name's called. But at the same time, like, hey, coach, you asked me to come in and step up. Not only did I step up, I gave you a double-double. We won the game. I was impactful in the game, and now I can't get in the rotation?
Yeah, and I don't know, because Morgan initially had brought it up, and I was thinking, like, damn, it would be good to see more minutes for Rashawn. But even, like, shouts out to Keon. No, like, obviously no slight to him, but if there's people who can, like, you can find minutes for them, even like, who knows, maybe Alex Len could be hot one game and you could throw him in there. So
totally.
There's, I think, very capable people on the bench who just may not have had their opportunity.
I agree. And
Hunter, like last night, though, even, right? Sorry, really quick, because you just brought up Alex Len. It's like you're going up against DeAndre Ayton, and then you're just going with Chimezie Metu.
Well, and they activated Keita for that game. Like he was with the team, so you Ayton crushed you last night, right? And when Sabonis went to the bench, you go to Metu instead. And it's like, look, the 3 guys who did not play last night were all your bigs: Holmes, Len, and Keita.
And that was where you probably needed the most help. So I don't know. I've definitely watched games and noticed things where bigs are on the opposing teams are grabbing a bunch of boards, like offensive rebounds are issues. And I'm very curious about why certain people aren't getting a chance.
Yeah.
frustrating at times.
It's weird. Yeah, it's just more interesting. Like I'm curious as to why.
And Hunter, then I'll ask you this then. When you look at Mike Brown as a coach, we can talk about all the great things he's done. But when you look at his rotations, are you just as confused as anyone else? Or do you feel like there are just so many coaches around the league that have their ways? Or if there were other pieces and tweaks that were made at the trade deadline, that he would actually be testing them out in the rotation?
Yeah, I think he's said it a lot, but I think he really is, like, especially earlier on in the season, I think that we talked about second half of the season, we may not see sporadic lineups the way we did in the first half, just because I think he was genuinely searching for some things, possibly knowing ahead of time too that there wouldn't be anything coming at the trade deadline. So I think he's really trying to be creative and throw a bunch of different things out there. But there are some times where I'm like, I probably wouldn't have went with that 5 but I mean, he's successful for a reason too. So
yeah, I think every NBA market criticizes a coach's rotations. It just it doesn't matter. Yeah. Like, oh, why don't you go with this guy instead? I mean, it happens all the time. Before I let you go, I have a question. Do you think where the Kings are at right now, number 3 spot, do you think they're in the top 6 when we get to the end of the regular season?
Yeah, I actually, friend of mine, he and I are having like a debate about that. He's living in Sac also, and he doesn't necessarily think with all of the moves that have been made recently that they'll be able to maintain this standing. And I am one of the people who think that they haven't really hit their ceiling yet. So I think that they'll continue to progress.
Why don't you think they've hit their ceiling?
Because I really think it all depends on Keegan. Like, we've seen Domas literally can't do anything else. He had like 24, 15, 7. De'Aaron, they're both all-stars. And I think there is really another level offensively, and like on both sides of the ball, that Keegan can reach and maintain that he hasn't hit yet. So Keegan, by far, to me, is the biggest wild card.
Yeah. And we talk about where Sacramento can take that next jump, whether it's later this year in the last 25 games or next year. It's internal. And if Keegan can take that jump, he looks, I mean, he's talking about a 6'8" guy who can shoot it. He's shooting at an elite level. Yeah. This is not like, oh, he's shooting well for a rookie. It's like, no, he's 41%, just under 42%, taking significant attempts. You know, it's not like on 2 attempts a game. Right. And if anything, he could be more aggressive.
Wait, Hunter, do you think he can take that jump? And what is it going to take? Like, is it a mental thing? Is it a physical thing? Does he just need to be coached differently? Like, what is it for him to take that jump?
I think it's really just on him. And he is still very young. Like, he spent a few years in school, but I know he's still in his early 20s.
Yeah.
So that may not come this season. And I personally may be putting a little too much pressure on him for this season. But we've seen those flashes where, and I'm not saying he has to have like 20 or 30 every game, but at least he's very capable of impacting the game really strongly in at least one category.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, Hunter, I appreciate you hopping on with us for a bit, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you all having me. I've been watching the show, and I keep up with you all when you're on NBC Sports and everything. So keep doing your thing.
Hey, you too, man. I appreciate you. I mean, we were a little offended. Apparently, you're in a group chat.
Oh, yeah.
With Frankie Cardicelli, Chris Watkins, and Cameron's, and like,
yeah. So we were just like, we weren't invited, but then what we told them anyway, that we didn't want to be invited anyway.
No. We wanted to be wanted to be invited, but we don't want to be in it.
No, we wanted to deny them too.
Yeah.
So
we're denying you. I didn't create it. I was just added. Just
classic deflection. Great deflection. I didn't. It's not my party. Can't.
You don't sound like a nice guy, Hunter. So I don't know.
Well, Hunter, dude, seriously, thanks so much. We'll do it again, man.
Of course, I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Hunter Patterson works for The Athletic, young up and comer.
Yeah,
and he's really talented.
Good for him, dude.
I like